This show is sponsored by Realtor Cynthia Bear, Putting Down Roots. Visit your in-town real estate specialist in Atlanta at cynthiabear.com. And Wonder Shop, a co-working community and after-hours who knows what in Candler Park. Check us out at wondershopatl.com.
You are now tuned in to the Good Gracious Show. Welcome.
Hello, Good Gracious family. It is Thursday, May 10th, 2018, and this is episode 106 of the Good Gracious Show. So glad you could join me today and or tonight, depending on where you are listening to this. I know it's not immediate, but it's a sticky day here in Atlanta just because it's getting to be in the upper 80s, and then we're getting these weird afternoon thunder boomers, kind of. Well, not even the thunder. We're just getting the rain just out of nowhere. Drops for about 20, 30 minutes, sometimes real heavy, and then it's gone. So it's kind of like Florida's moving north. That's what it feels like. But hey, at least we got enough rain, and you know, we're not in a drought, so it's good times. But it's getting ready to be a pretty hot summer, and you know, just a month away is our Good Gracious, well, I should say my Good Gracious 12 show down at the Switchyards Downtown Club in Atlanta. So very excited about bringing some new folks to you right now. I can tell you a little bit. We got Caleb and the Gents with some nice Southern Americana. Well, it's a mix of bluegrass, dance music. It's just a great Dixieland hybrid fun. So that's Caleb and the Gents. I've also got the Chinese Southern Belle herself, Natalie King, is going to come tell a little story about growing up in the South, I believe. And have Laura Coyle and Trey Wright, a beautiful jazz duo, coming out. So we got some good mixture going on there. There's a few other things percolating that I'll share when they come in. But I just wanted to let you know, I've got the audio up from the last show, the last live show, and I'm going to be putting some videos out so you can catch it. If you haven't been able to get down to a show, take a look, and hopefully the 12th is the one that you do make. So you can get your tickets now through the website, goodgracioushow.com. And yeah, that's about it. On this episode, I sat down with Michael Westbrook, singer-songwriter, guitarist for hire, a very talented guy, very warm, and has a good story to tell, you know, as life sometimes pulls us in ways we don't expect. And also, talking about the unexpected, I sat down with Marshall Seese, whom you may have met through my live show. He performs under the name Tin Man. Wonderful music. And he is now working on a project. He's been cooking a project for a while, but now it's actually out there. And he's working with Eliot Bronson on a TV pilot. You know, whether it's on broadcast TV or whether it's on Amazon or Hulu, any of those things, who knows? But it's called Versus, Versus. Verses. And I've seen it. I've seen the pilot. It's really good. You can catch it online if you look up the Thea Network, THEA, like the A. It's run by some wonderful folks here in Atlanta, and they're posting videos there, so you can check it out. But you know, I'm just going to let you enjoy the tone of what these guys have to say. And as always, if you know any musicians, artists, or change makers that are making the South a really interesting place, please send them my way. I'm always looking for more stories to tell. So enjoy.
Well, I'm Marshall Seese. I also play music under the moniker The Tin Man, and excited to announce that Eliot Bronson and I just released the pilot of our first TV show called Versus.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
You're the second person that I've spoken to who's got a TV show kind of working, but yours is an interesting collaboration with your world of music too. How did that I mean, where did the concept come from?
Yeah. Well, it all stems from my crazy marketing brain trying to figure out a way to make it in music. So, I first really kind of developed the Tin Man project about 3.5 years ago, probably, maybe even 4 years ago now, when I kind of first came to being. And, most of the time you're gaining your audience by just touring, as many days as you possibly can, as wide of a canvas, as big of a net as you can cast. And, getting on later in life, that didn't sound as appealing as it did in my 20s. And so I looked to see if there was any other way that people would really gravitate towards music. And television's always been an interesting way, whether it's something like Grey's Anatomy, when they would really feature music, and some bands broke that way, to kind of the modern age with competition shows. And then you've also got scripted shows like Empire and Nashville. But none of them are really focused on real artists, their real music, and then taking more of a scripted path with it. So I thought, what if there was a TV show that people fell in love with the story and the characters, a la whatever their favorite television show on Netflix, Hulu, or whatever it might be, but they were real artists and they were pursuing their real music, and you got to hear that through the narrative. What would that mean?
So, in essence, you're trying to work yourself out of a job, because in theory, you become super popular, you become super famous, and then somebody else has to backfill your role in the TV show, right?
So, it's an interesting point, interesting question, because I definitely, I've got a couple seasons mapped out as to where these characters go, with myself and Eliot kind of being the leads. And I think there's an interesting story there for sure that could maintain a few seasons. But yes, if that happens and we catapults us to the next level, and we're able to tour and support it and be involved in other projects, I still think there's merit to this this idea, it could be almost an anthology series in a way.
Oh, definitely,
definitely. To me, I think it's a new world for marketing and music.
Oh, sure.
Obviously, the industry is going through a lot of turmoil right now, and I think it's the golden age of television. So I think there's a synergy there that's yet to be really tapped into.
So was it difficult getting Eliot signed on, or was he just as curious as you?
That's a great question. When I first started developing the season a few years ago, and then show concept, I had written a character based on another friend of mine. And when we things kind of stalled out for a while, and it's been a kind of a rotating idea of who would be in the cast before we actually got to the execution part.
Right.
But I mapped out this character, and when I met Eliot, a director that I was working with originally on the idea, knew him through yoga, introduced us, told him about the concept, and Eliot was at a point in his life where he told me later that he just had agreed to himself that he would say yes to whatever opportunities people would bring to him, because he knew that 95% of the time that would never actually happen.
Right.
So why not say yes? Yeah. And then if it actually does come to happen, then you can always opt out if you want to.
Right.
So he went along with us, and I think he was a little surprised that this was something that actually we brought to fruition. Yeah. But having known him for about 2 years now, he's in the writer's room and helping out.
How many folks are actually writing the piece? And how did you, and let's break it down a little bit. So it came from your concept. I know you had, you basically had the treatment squared and everything. Did you then start to reach out to look for others when you got some sign, or did you decide you're going to create it because you have to create it kind of to shop it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, really good question. So when I first had the concept for it, this is probably 3.5 years ago. It was right about the same time as Tin Man. And I was writing a treatment for it, but I actually didn't even know what a treatment was. I was literally Googling what is a treatment.
Right.
And oddly enough, I was flying out to LA based on my tech company that I had before that to have a couple meetings, one of which was linked into the television world. And he had told me to write a treatment, but I still didn't know what it was. I just had this journal of notes. Well, I find myself, for the first time ever, upgraded to first class on Delta, as I've been flying so much that year. So I feel like quite the baller, flying from Atlanta to LAX, first class. Well, who should sit down next to me but a guy who's yapping on his phone, talking something about television. And through conversation, came to learn that he was in town shooting a pilot, clearly was involved somehow in the industry. I asked him the ignorant question, what's a treatment? And he laughed, thumbed through his briefcase, and pulled out a treatment. Hands it to me, and I read it like 3 times over. Finally understood what it was. So I just pull out my computer and I start plugging away at this idea that had been in my head. It was a long flight to LA. And I got a rough draft done. And I have this guy who's somehow involved in television cornered next to me on a plane. So it was the classic, hey, will you listen to my demo, man? You know, I was like, will you read my treatment? And he took pity on me. He read it, but loved it. Yeah. And I think he was surprised because obviously I'd never written a treatment before, and I'd just written it next to him on the plane. But he told me point blank, he's like, I give it a B+ as it is right now, but this is a really interesting concept. I think you can get it to an A. And we talked, and he told me about where to dig in deeper and how to develop the characters and the story. This was obviously a different iteration of cast members, although it's, you know, my characters remain mostly intact. Yeah. And he said, work on this and send it back to me. So he gave me his card, and he was the executive vice president of comedy development for Sony Pictures Entertainment.
Nice.
So we've kept in touch over the last few years, and there was a point to where the treatment was ready to kind of to be shopped, but he was very honest with me and said, look, if we shop this now, it's not going to be your thing, you know, and none of the people you have involved are going to be in it. It's going to be something else. And I had a very specific vision for it being a marketing vehicle for music and emerging artists. So he's like, your other option is to do it yourself. And if you can do it yourself and prove that there's an audience and that it works, then, you know, that could get picked up. You see a lot of web series these days getting picked up to bigger things once they've kind of proven themselves on a smaller market. So that's the direction we chose to take.
So did you just work on getting basically a pilot, or did you do a couple of them?
So we ended up just doing a pilot. You know, it took about 6 months to pull together this 15-minute pilot. And just because, you know, we were shooting on no budget, and I was doing the majority of everything, and then getting friends to do favors, you know, here and there. And we went through, I can't even, a dozen or more script iterations until we finally hit on something that moved well and had a nice pace to it. And, you know, we were lucky that Thea, which is a local network here that's backed by our Metro Chamber of Commerce, took an interest in it. And they were showcasing a few different pilots, so they grabbed onto us, threw us onto their pilots channel, and took us out to South by Southwest with them to debut it back in March. So now we've written a few more episodes. We want to do at least 3 more, probably more in the 8 to 10 minute range, you know, tighten it up a little bit and raise a little bit of funding for that so we can do it in a proper production methodology rather than haphazard over a 6-month time frame. Yeah.
And so these days you have so many different options for how you get a series out. Like you said, I mean, you can do Amazon, Netflix, you can do little 5-minute bits, you can do 15 minutes, you can do an hour. I mean, that's the thing. It's changed what television theoretically is, to, you know, screenplays, we'll say. But where do you see this fitting, or where in your perfect world would it be?
In my perfect world, it would live on... at this point, I would say Amazon or Apple, who is Apple's committed a lot of money to original content, but they haven't done a whole lot in that space yet. I think they're still trying to figure out exactly what they want to do. But they're 2 companies that have a direct tie to music that are also music distributors. Right. So I think it makes a lot of sense for someone like that, to be a bit more natural. I do think the story we're telling, kind of this dark comedy about the struggles of these 2 polar opposite singer-songwriters trying to make it in their own ways. I think it lends itself to the digital networks, more of the Hulu, Netflix, Amazon type model. But you know, I don't know that it's a major network kind of show. So
are you looking to at this point get a little more, like you said, a few more stories kind of storyboarded out, but then do you need to have a partner of sorts who's going to help you shop this, or do you look for small production companies? Where do you go for that? Really
good question. Yes. So we actually met somebody out at South by who has a long history in the music industry and co-founded a major label and run promotions for a bunch of other labels, but has recently more gotten into film production. And over the last 15 years has done a lot of the music documentaries and has toyed around some scripted stuff too, runs a music supervision company. You know, he completely got it and understands the concept and the power behind it. So he wants to be involved in developing it, helping to write a little bit, and then ultimately shopping it because he lives out west and is well connected. So when we're ready, I think he's definitely somebody who could open some doors for us. But yes, you kind of have to have that person who has the connections and wants to be involved from that producer type of role.
Yeah. So what's your timeline on this vision then when you say we want to be ready to get things together? Is that having a few more in the can kind of?
For sure. You know, I think people need to see how the story is going to unfold, the direction it's going to take. Eliot and I just need to keep honing our acting craft. You know, we have to be as believable as possible. And I think we did a great job for, hodgepodging this together over 6 months. But I think we could really dial it up, and we're both performers by nature, and we're both attracted to the art of craft, or the craft of acting.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that, and just continually making it better until it's kind of a natural step to the next stage.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to, can folks check the pilot out? I mean, it's on Thea, right?
It is, absolutely. Yeah. So Thea, which is spelled Thea, kind of the A, if you want to think about it that way, with Atlanta-based content. Search for that in verses, like verses of a song, and you'll find it. It'll pop up for sure.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming in, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Best of luck.
I don't want to live the rest of my life chasing shadows in the night. Find a passion and follow your heart, even when the damn thing falls apart. Whoa. Is it real? I don't know where this is going, but I feel like something's right. If I die, I'll know that I died trying not to lose my mind. If you told me that it wouldn't work out, and my feet won't leave the ground, it wouldn't change how I'm living my life. What's the point in living a life? Whoa. Is it real? I don't know where this is going, but I feel like something's right. If I die, well, I know that I died trying not to lose my mind from more than news. I need a new excuse to go. I can feel it in my soul. Is it real? I don't know where this is going, but I feel like something's right. If I die, well, I know that I died trying not to lose my mind. Is it real? I don't know where this is going, but I feel like something's right. If I die, well, I know that I died trying not to lose my mind. I'm trying not to lose my mind tonight.
My name is Michael Westbrook. Generally speaking, a musician and an artist in the musical sense, but that looks like a lot of different things and has looked like a lot of different things over the years.
Do you mean that in the way because you play sideman to other people's gigs, or?
Yeah, I've done everything from doing the sideman kind of musician for hire thing to I also do production and engineering and make records for people, as well as more recently kind of diving into a little more of my original stuff and writing and all of that. And
were you trained in the audio engineering realm, or have you just learned it over years?
The audio engineering realm has been more so just what I've picked up along the way and kind of self-taught and self-studied. Musically, I was in college for guitar performance. The first little part was for classical, and then I swapped over to jazz studies here at Georgia State, which is what brought me to Atlanta. And then I ended up dropping out because I was touring and playing a lot and didn't. It's just hard to balance.
You didn't need the education if you were already doing what you were going to school to do.
Yeah, well, in a way, I remember having a professor. I was excited I'd gotten this kind of regular gig that paid pretty well, paid really well, for
at the time.
At the time, where I was like early 20s, and I was making good money doing this gig, and I remember being excited about it and telling my guitar professor, and he was like, "Oh man, I would kill for a gig like that." I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Right. Why are you at the school then?
yeah, exactly. But I mean, I learned a lot, and I think music school in particular is like, you get what you make out of it. Like
college in general.
Yeah, for sure. So I knew that I wasn't making the most of it. I was just kind of hanging on because my interests were elsewhere, and I was kind of having to live this dual life of jazz at school, but then I was playing kind of with singer-songwriters and more in the pop realm elsewhere. So it was a tough thing to kind of separate and figure out.
Well, you've kind of figured it out now, right? Now you realize it's just a whole mixed bag of gigs, right?
It is, yeah, it really is. And I guess I have and I haven't figured it out as much as the music business can be figured out nowadays. But I feel really fortunate to be able to have done it for as long as I have. I mean, I guess now I'm coming up to almost 15 years of doing it, and I know there's not a lot of folks who can kind of do that full time for that long. So I know that's huge. I'm lucky in that sense. Yeah.
You get a certain stripe or a badge. I think at the 15-year mark.
I know. I'm still waiting for that one in the mail, but it's coming any day now.
At some point. Well, what got you into music to begin with? Did you just play as a teen, as angry young teenager?
I don't know that I was so much angry as I grew up around music. Both my parents are music lovers, and I grew up with tons of like classic rock and a lot of like southern rock. I grew up in Athens, Georgia, not too far from here, and so you grow up in a town like that, and it's very music culture centric in a way.
Athens gained that moniker after REM, pretty much.
Yeah,
B-52s. It became that hub that Atlanta has somehow dodged, even though they've created quite a few performers over the years.
Yeah, I feel like it's almost like it's too big in a way, like a larger city kind of dodges some of that stuff because there's so much going on, whereas I don't know, Athens, it's like
it was a sleepy little town, so there was nothing there, and then it just exploded.
Yeah, it's interesting. I there's a special place in my heart for like southern college towns. Like everyone that I've been to and played in, there's always there's just something about them, like small town. Like I think of Athens, or even I think it's Oxford, Mississippi. I remember being really cool, and I don't know. They're
their own little worlds.
Yeah,
usually
they really are. Yeah.
So in coming from a big city of Atlanta, it definitely has a different vibe.
Yeah.
Well, so how did you determine that you were going to start working more on your own stuff now? Has that just been kind of a progression over time, or just finding the time to do it, or feeling comfortable enough to?
I think it's a little bit of a lot of those things. I think, I've written and made my own music for a while, for years now. But I think I've been, the last couple years have been writing more and kind of feeling more comfortable and confident in that. And some of it's a time thing. It's like, well, I've got the time, and I feel like I've got some songs I feel comfortable going out there with and playing for people. And
so are you trying to develop enough to have like an actual CD, or are you just thinking you're just doing individual bits?
I think
and
right.
pieces?
I'm trying to figure that all out right now because
it's a moving dial, man. Everybody's doing it in so many different ways.
I know, and the good thing for me is because I do produce and engineer as well. Like I can do that stuff for essentially free,
right?
Yeah. But then it starts being tough because I have a habit of overthinking stuff, or just my mind being the only thing that things are running through. Yeah. It's like you just chase your tail.
Yeah, I think I was talking to Danny about that, and how you love the fact that you can control everything and get everything done, but then there's real value in having someone who comes with a fresh perspective and doesn't have all the baggage that you do.
Yeah,
to look at stuff.
Well, and another side of that for me is, and something I haven't mentioned is, my wife Dee Dee is also a musician and a singer, and we've done stuff in the past as a duo, and generally she's been the one who sang the most, and and we had a daughter about a year and a half ago, and so it's a little trickier to get both of us out doing stuff together with that, and so I've started kind of doing more of my own stuff because of that as well, and she's encouraged me to go do that and push me towards that, but I am fortunate that I at least can like run stuff by her and get her input.
That's huge.
She's insanely talented, and she's actually a vocal coach here in town and teaches vocals. I feel
so your kid's going to grow up just tortured with music in such a wonderful way.
Right, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, she's definitely around it a lot, and like,
she'll be the punk band girl, probably.
Well, I feel like nowadays the shift is probably like, we always joke that she'll probably be into like just super like electronic music.
I was gonna say emo or some trance dance. Something,
yeah, I feel like that. Maybe it's not. I have no idea. I don't really know that world, or have
or what it'll be by the time she's old enough.
Yeah. But I think in my mind, that's like some of that could be the like rebellious music of the future.
You never know. It could. To go back to folk music, I mean, real hardcore folk, telling tales of, the poor plumber who didn't survive.
Yeah. We would probably love that, which is probably why she wouldn't.
That's right. That's their job.
Yeah.
That's their job. So, what do you find hardest about writing songs and working on stuff? Do you work lyrics? Do you work music?
It's interesting. I think, even though I'm like been a musician and have mainly focused on like music and playing for other people for so long, I typically like kind of lyrics are my first focus when I'm working on that stuff. And
so do you keep like a journal or?
Yeah, I mean, I keep kind of like a running notebook on my like on your phone. Like a phone of just like I have like an ideas page that's just like
a cool phrase or
never ending. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like phrases or like an idea or all that stuff. And, and then when I'm kind of sitting down to write, which I go through phases of like that being like every morning when I wake up, and then maybe I won't do it for a little while or I get busy, but like I'll sit down with some of those and try to flesh some of those out. Or
so do you do that just out of curiosity? Do you use a recorder on your phone and you just kind of record yourself notes, or do you actually write them out?
I write them out, yeah.
And keep them like on a Google sheet or something?
It's like the straight up like notebook app on the iPhone. Like it's like you can't do anything on it but type. Like you're lucky for like capital letters.
Yeah.
But no, it's just that, like I just type out stuff. And I mean, sometimes if I have like a melodic idea, I might record it on the voice memo thing. But again, I think that always kind of strikes me as a little strange that I don't, like when I'm working on something new, it's rare that ever like the melody will be the first thing.
Yeah,
it's
that
always
is kind of weird.
It's always lyric
because you're a player.
Yeah,
more.
exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I think I would be. I think for so long, like the lyric side of it was the mystery to me. Like writing lyrics and all that stuff was just, that was the thing that was like, you know, on this pedestal far away. And I was like, oh man, I don't
beyond
know.
your abilities.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
exactly. Yeah. And so I think, you know, when I started doing it, that was where I kind of concentrated my energies, because that was the part I would need to like think about more, or felt like I needed to think about more. And then I just let the melodies land where they land, you know.
Do you find that, do you feel that your songwriting or even your playing in some respects has changed or morphed since you had a kid? Because I find, I mean, at least for me, in my world, everything changed when
everything definitely has changed. Well, you know, I really started like digging in, writing a ton when my wife was pregnant. Like that's when
that was your nesting period.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, like I started. So, you know, I think before that I wasn't doing it as regularly and as like as disciplined. But when that started happening, and I was like, I think I was off the road some, so I wasn't traveling as much, and so, you know, I was like, well, I want to kind of dig in on this, and so I started doing it. So it's almost like kind of been a part of that maybe for me. Maybe subconsciously has like pushed me in that direction somehow. I don't know.
Huh.
But
well, either way, you're getting it done, right? That's the
yeah.
important thing.
But I mean, that's always changing, and I'm still trying to figure that out, because I feel like it's funny. One thing that I run into is, for myself, is like the idea that I've been doing this for so long, like even like I've been doing music for over half my life, like is just I remember crossing that threshold and thinking that was kind of crazy. But
that you think you need to go become a butcher or something? Well, time for a change.
No. Like I think the idea, like, because I have been doing it for so long, but then like doing, like, kind of pursuing the more original music side for me, it's almost like I feel like I'm like a rookie, career. You know, I'm starting back at square one, which isn't totally the case. Like, but it is interesting, because it's like, no, I know how to do this. Like I know so much about the ins and outs of a lot of this. You know, there are a lot of parts that are new, and I'm still learning and will always be learning. But because by no means have I
arrived.
You know,
at
like
all the answers.
No, but it is an interesting like thought to me. Is like, oh, like this is like completely new in the grand scheme of things for me.
Well, that's kind of good though.
Yeah, it is.
It brings some fresh perspective, probably, to your playing too, I would think. It gives you a little something. I
think so. I feel like I'm always balancing where to focus my energies. Like,
well, we all are, Mike. You're not special.
Yeah. So that's like the idea of with so many different avenues, you know, like it's like, okay, I'm going to concentrate on this for a couple weeks. Okay, now I need to shift gears, and now I'm recording or producing somebody, you know. Okay, now I need to focus on playing guitar.
So you've got such an interesting kind of background and progression, you know, timeline, whatever. If you could go back and tell your 19-year-old self something, is there anything that you think would be beneficial that you would have listened to? You know?
I think and this might just be because of where I'm at right now, but I think I would have told myself to pursue writing earlier on, like writing my original music.
You think it was it something that you knew you kind of should or wanted to do, but you didn't feel you had the ability?
I mean, potentially. I think, you know, I mean, at certain times in my life, I've been super busy, and I don't know that I would have had the time to really dig into that, like, and give it like the energy that it needed. You know, I mean, because I've spent, you know, years touring and traveling all over the place, and it's like, you know, it wears you out, and it can be hard to like find the motivation to kind of do your own thing, and create and all that stuff. So, but I think that's something I did when I was young as well, but it always took kind of a back seat. So I would maybe say, you know,
Just because now, then you'd be way better.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's totally selfish, I guess.
I know,
Like,
you're trying to project. You're going time travel now, man.
Yeah, but
But that's okay.
yeah. So that, I guess that would be one thing, but
Yeah. Well, if people want to check out your music or find out where you're playing, things like that, what's the best way for them to do?
I mean, really, just right now, just Facebook and Instagram are kind of the two things that I update stuff with. I'm hoping to have a website up in the near future, and hoping to be releasing a song here in the next month or two. So it'll be, available in all the ways people get music now.
Yes, all the music ways.
Yes,
That's what it is.
on the internet.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Well, cool. Well, thanks for coming in today, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
My hands were shaking, I could hardly make it out what it was that you were saying. You were so upset there was nothing to do, but even a fool admits he's wrong a time or two. And if I had a worn down nickel for every chance I threw away, my pockets should be full and I could hardly stand. I didn't follow you, and I didn't follow you, and the door that you walked through, a step or two too few, I didn't follow you. You told me once 100 times to never let you go. What do you do? What could have been after you let it pass and all around the bend? And if I had a worn down nickel for every chance I threw away, my pockets would be full and I could hardly stand the weight. And I didn't follow. I didn't follow you, and the door that you walked through, a step or two too few, I didn't follow you. If I had a worn down nickel for every chance I threw, my pockets would be full and I could hardly stand the weight. And I didn't follow you, and I didn't follow you, and I didn't follow you. I didn't follow you, and the door that you walked through, a step or two too few. I'll be a man who follows through, knock the dust off of my shoe. I'm gonna follow you.
So that wraps it up for another Good Gracious Show podcast. I want to thank you for listening. When you do a project like this, which is a labor of love, and you put things out there, it's a lot like teachers or people who post blogs, people who are working to just put good stuff out there into the world. You don't always get a lot of feedback. I'm lucky to have some folks who give me some attaboys, and also give me some direction on what can make it better and who I should talk to next. I am always up for that. So don't hesitate to shout if you've got an idea or two, and sign up for the podcast. If you just like to stream it, just go online to the website and pop on it whenever you can. I try to post when it's coming up through Facebook, so you can be a Facebook friend, Good Gracious Show, or Twitter at GG Show Atlanta. And working on some Instagram stuff. I do that more with the live performances. I try to post some video, but love to connect more. You know, you can also find this through iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, all those places if you have a device or a phone you want to download the podcast to. And if I haven't said it again lately, I want to remind you that some of the bumper music, the cool baritone guitar that you hear, it's all from Alex Gordon Hi-Fi. Go check him out, alexgordonhifi.com. He's a talented guy here in town, and he's the one-man band, the house band of the live show. So just want to make sure I give a shout-out to him. That is about it. All right, so go hug someone, be a good neighbor, and I will talk to you next week.